Welcome everybody. Anthony here with the Bulbaritos, bringing you a brand new video. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be talking about the week 2 recap, as well as breaking down week 3 and what surprises you can expect from Osiris League season 4 in the Horus realm. So make sure, if you're into that kind of content, make sure to sub to the channel, hit that bell icon if you don't want to miss a single video, and do me a massive favor and smash that like button, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you again to everybody who's been leaving us comments on our videos. Here's a couple of them that we had on our last video, so continue to keep doing that for us and we'll continue highlighting them. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get in to the recap show. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in Osiris League and Horus Realm. We're going to click in. We're going to start talking about what occurred this past weekend, and holy smokes, there were some major upsets. Let's get into these tournament details so that we can give y'all a recap of what happened this last weekend match-wise, what you have to look forward to in the coming weeks. And oh man, there's some spicy headlines coming out from multiple groups in Horus Realm. But let's go ahead and start it off with Group A. We saw 1AVG take out 166 and officially eliminate 166 this past weekend. Kudos to 1AVG. We're gonna come back to this, I promise y'all. In the second match, by far the most exciting match of the weekend. LIG. I'm just kidding. It was a monster match coming out from LIG, pulling the dub out of the bag and defeating a JWM. A lot of people did not see this coming. I didn't see this coming. I knew that they were a phenomenal team, but they pulled it out of the bag. For those of y'all who didn't see, I'll put the video. That way you can go watch the cast in the upper right hand corner. It should be where I'm pointing for that cast. And LIG, long story short, the match went back and forth the entire time. LIG in the last 12 minutes went absolutely ham on occupation, neutralizing the JWM altars consistently and keeping it neutral for almost the entire time. And the occupation is what ended up doing it. It was the combination of occupation and having about 2k additional provisions in that match that ended up putting them over the top, and they ended up narrowly beating JWM by 1k in the final moments of the match. And LIG, they really, this match gave them a nice little buffer in the standings. They are now 2-1-1, or yes, 2-1-1. They are leading the group right now with 2. JWM have 1 and 1AVG have 1. So this is where we're going to get into it when we come for the breakdown for this coming week. But this group is going to be one of the most stacked groups. There's possibilities of 2-2-2 across the board. There are scenarios where net points are going to come into effect. There's going to be a lot of situations that we're going to come back when we do the breakdown for this coming week. So keep your eyes on Group A. Group B, we predicted it. It went pretty much according to how we thought it was going to go. 412A taking out NC by 10k. UCS handing that fat L to TXIK by almost 20,000 score. UCS is on an absolute tear right now. By far one of the scariest teams in the league right now. So it's definitely something to keep your eye on. And if you're an opponent, I don't know what to tell you. In Group C, we had 1V versus SN. I don't want to dive too far into this, but I was told that, I knew that we were fighting. I'm in 1307, so I know that we were fighting for over 24 hours, and most of the players in SM were up for over 24 hours fighting, and some didn't show. So naturally, 1 or 2 players missing, sometimes you can get away with it. In Osiris League top 32, when you're missing 9 players, you're just not going to make that up. And 1V took advantage of it, and with this win, It's about a 95-96% chance that they take first position in this. There still is a small possibility, if in one of the other matches, if BG are able to beat SN by 93,000 points or something ridiculous, that they have the possibility of taking position 1, so on and so forth. So there's a couple of way out scenarios where 1v do not take spot 1, but it is almost a lock. It is almost a for sure lock their position 1, just because the net points from the last match are so astronomical that it would take another one in order for that to even be an argument. And then in our second match, BG versus Squad, we did cast over that as well. And oh man, the aggression from BG was insane, non-stop, over and over and over again. And you know, they put it to Squad. You know, I don't think a lot of people saw that coming. I think it was a little bit closer than what a lot of people thought, but BG came out and just straight punched him in the face, just straight in the dome piece right there, just, and took the dub. In Group D, Smash Squad versus L359. This one wasn't a surprise. I thought these two were pretty clean cut. Them taking the fat dub by 16k points. And then in your second match, C9N versus FN, winning by over 11k points in favor of C9N. So those matches were not surprises to me at all. And we're going to move to the back end of the groups. And on Group E, you have TR versus GX96. This one I thought was going to be clean cut as well. TR they've looked that you would not guess that they are lacking in troops, the way that they're absolutely spanking some of these teams, but they are, and they're on the roll right now. It's going to be a very fun match. We'll talk about here in the breakdown for next week's matches, or this week's matches. But yeah, they handled the business. 20k point differential for them and GX96, and 114k versus K6V. Not a surprise either, winning by over 30,000 points. Yeah, no surprise there. In Group F, there was a small, I wouldn't say it was a surprise, but I can tell you that I don't think they thought it was going to be as bad as it was. So Song versus 235E, I think everybody automatically assumed that Song was just going to wreck them in this match, and they did. 235E have put up a really good fight. I will say that I am very impressed with how well they are actually putting up fights against the guys. All three of these teams, well, no, not Song, because they weren't there last season, but OV, PTOL, you know, PTOL made it in the top 32. OV made it into, well, they won last season, and Song are parts of other teams that all made it in the top 16 as well. So, you know, give them props where it's there. They're an up and coming team. Keep your eyes out, and yeah, I expect big things from them in the future. But the second match was OV versus PTOL. I think people thought, even myself included, thought that this was going to be a decently close match. And from what I heard, OV came out and swung that Louisville, you know, they swung it. They swung it. King Dingaling out there just laid the lumber down on PTOL, coming out the gates hot, in mid, everywhere is where I just the word domination comes to mind. And yeah, you know, everyone was worried that they lost a step. Guys, they didn't lose a step. Like we said, they lost a match last season. They came back even stronger, corrected, fixed, and resumed to go and win Osiris League last season. What I will say is them taking second in this group makes the road to winning again a whole lot harder than what it would have been if they beat Song. So that's something that we'll break down later on. But I am happy to see them come out swinging, and DB out there saving himself from not having to take a pie to the face. So sorry, fam. I tried. All right, moving on to Group G. Z415 versus JST, guys. I'm telling y'all, unless you're sleeping under a rock, our boy Chuni, Zhang, and crew out there be running train. They're doing what it takes in order to win the match. They had to heal another, from what I was told, another 35 to 40 mil in troops this match as well. On top of that, most people don't know that they actually played a match earlier in the day for the Korean Osiris League and narrowly won that one as well. So yeah, they're playing on all time zones right now. So kudos to JST. They're absolutely crushing it right now, and I expect big things from them. And then, of course, the one that I was a little worried on was this one, because SX54, I have full confidence in them. They've made me eat my words more than once. And for the first week, I went with them because I knew that this was kind of their I don't want to say their championship match, but this was kind of like that win or go home type feel. Because by them winning, they secured the bag. They are now officially in top 16. They sent Z415 and SNC1 to the Shadow Realm. They have now been officially eliminated. And now it just comes down to SX54 and JST for who's taking position 1 and position 2. And this positioning makes a massive difference, guys. And I'm telling you, this match is huge. This is talking the difference between being on the side of death or having, I don't want to say easier, because the top 16 is no joke. But there's potential for both teams that were in the championship last season to end up on the left side of the bracket, which is where position 2 is going to end up, on the left side of the bracket. So this is going to be, we'll talk about that in the breakdown, but it's going to get, like I said, we building fires with our hands. And oh boy, the headlines are coming. The headlines are coming. Group H, 108, handing that fat L to SK57 by a little under 30,000 points. And then K374 giving it, just coming and impressing again, winning by almost 14K. This is one of the other ones that's going to have potential headlines as well. For those of y'all who don't know, last season, last season, 1008 and 1AVG were in the same group, and 108 beat 1AVG to then knock them down, where they were forced to play HKL in round 1 on the right side of the bracket last season. And guess what, fam? If 1AVG are able to beat LIG and own, they will have to own the point differential. Okay, they will have to own the point differential, the net points, and take second place. There is potential for them to be playing 1008 in round 1 of top 16, win or go home type match. So I'm telling y'all, the headlines are coming in. They're coming in, baby. All right, let's get into the preview for this coming week, for matches that we think are going to be spicy, for potential knockout situations, potential ties, 2-2-2-2, where it's going to come down to net points. All right, the preview, JWM versus 166. I think this is a no-brainer. I think JWM will come out swinging. I think they're going to win it by over 20K points. I don't want to waste too much time on it, but JWM is head and shoulders above 166. 1AVG versus LIG. Okay, so here are the situations that could occur. Okay, 1, LIG win. If LIG win, they secure position 1, and JWM would secure position 2. Assuming JWM wins against 166, which I think they should. That would give JWM 2 wins. That would give LIG 3. So then it would be LIG, JWM. Okay. Another alternate situation that could happen is if 1AVG wins, okay, if they beat LIG, but beat them by less than 1,600 points, and JWM wins, JWM and LIG would be the 2 teams moving forward. Which one is first and second would then come into net point situation. Okay. Position number 3. If 1AVG beats LIG by more then I believe it's 1637, or I don't know the exact number, but they cover the point differential, then it will come down to the net points between JWM and 1AVG, assuming that JWM wins. Okay, so that's where it becomes interesting. If LIG win, they secure position 1. If they lose, they need to lose by less than 1600 points. If it's by more, then 1AVG would then move on. Okay, so there is a scenario where LIG can still lose and still move on, but it needs to be by less than 1600 points. Okay, so those are the situations that you'll see in Group A, and I hope you're not confused by it, because there's a lot of little tiebreakers and net points and all that kind of stuff. So if you are confused by it, come and hang out on our streams. I'll explain it to y'all in more depth, and yeah, we'll kind of go over that. In Group B, let's move on to this UCS versus NC. I think this match is going to be pretty cut and dry. I think UCS will win this by 30,000 points at minimum and secure the #1 position in Group B. This is the match for position number 2. So let's move over. It is once again 2-1-1. So there is potential. Well, there is no potential. Whoever wins is in, because UCS will have 3 wins. So whoever wins out of these 2 teams between 412A and TXIK will end up moving into top 16, locking in that #2 position. So yeah, you know, we're going to talk about matches, wins, all that kind of stuff during our Bulbaritos and our bet show. So I don't want to dive too far into it. I'm kind of breaking down the situations for you on what could happen and what, you know, we're kind of looking forward to seeing in headlines and stuff like that. But this match will be it's going to be a very sneaky, fly under the radar type match, because it is at the same time slot as a bunch of the other big ones. But this one should be fairly close. Okay, they're fairly on keel with each other team wise, so it should be a really good match. Group C, BG versus SN. SN has officially, let me see. SN has officially been eliminated from top 16. BG, so this one's a little bit tricky. BG need to win this. Okay, they need to win it. I would love to say, you know, everyone's gonna show, and I can't account for that, and I won't ask. But BG are a very good team. I think if SN show up full power, ready to rock and roll, I think SN is the better team in here, which ultimately would actually benefit 1V and squad because of that point differential. 1V, I'm pretty confident has locked in position #1, but if you're a squad, you need to win. If you win, you're in. That's the situation. If you lose, you need SN to win against BG, so that then you have a 3-way tie with all the other teams. So essentially it would come down where if squad loses to 1V, you would have a 3, and then squad would stay at 1, BG would be at 1, and SN would be at 1. But because of SN having such a large net point differential in the negative, they're already eliminated. So then it comes down to squad and BG, and that one becomes very interesting. Let me see what the stats are between those 2 teams in net points. So BG is at 2862 and squad is at 225. So they would need to beat them. They would need to, if squad loses, they're going to take negative net points. So they would need SN to win by a decent margin in order to cover the remaining net points. So that's where they need SN to come in ham, beat BG by quite a bit in order to secure squad's position in top 2. So yeah. All right, Group D, L359 versus C9N. C9N, I have full confidence they're going to secure the bag this week and lock in position #1 with a win. This is one of what I call a trap match. Okay, FN versus Smash Squad. For those of y'all who remember, we talked about Peak versus Smash Squad when it was for a divisional championship. I think FN are better than Peak. So this is one of those secret matches that you want to keep your eyes on, because there is potential for an upset here, but Squad has improved and changed and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in this match. But they will be battling for whoever's going to take number 2 in Group D. So there's a lot on the line right here. In Group E, let's move to the back half. Group E, 114K versus TR. This is another one. 114K have the name TR up and coming, and TR have been blazing through their opponents. 114K have looked a little bit vulnerable at certain points. And if they show up against TR a little bit vulnerable, TR is going to absolutely wreck them. So this is for number 1 position. So the storylines are there. You know, I have a potential upset in this one. So we'll talk about that more on the Bull Battalion show as well as on the Bet show. So yeah, keep your eyes on that one. GX96 versus K6V. I don't think this one's going to be hyper competitive. I think this is 2 teams that have 0 wins, so it's kind of just for honor purposes. And I actually have GX96 taking this one. Moving on to Group F, here are where the storylines come in. Song versus PTOL. Should be a very good match, but I think Song's aggression is going to be pretty scary in this one. And I just don't know if PTOL are going to be able to hang with it. Where it becomes interesting is if PTOL managed to win this match and OV managed to win theirs, we now have a 3-way tie where it then comes down to net points. That's where this becomes interesting, because OV beat PTOL by a certain deficit. Song beat PTOL, or Song beat OV by, I believe it's 7 or 8K. So the differential is kind of there. So if PTOL are able to beat Song by a small, like a decent margin, there's potential that OV gets knocked out based on net points. So there is a world where OV still gets knocked out just based on net points. So they need to absolutely come out and dominate 235E. I think they will. So net points will probably swing in OV's favor just because of that. But that's one of those. I think OV kind of secure, like, nothing against 235E, but I think they'll win by at least 20K, and that point differential will guarantee them kind of in top 2. And then it will come between Song and PTOL. So that will be an interesting match in itself. So yeah, there's a lot up in the air with that group, but I think OV having 235E at the very end lends very well to them, especially if it comes to net points. Group G, SX54 versus JST. This is going to be for the number 1 in the group. This is between 2 teams that fought in KVK. Literally, the storylines, you could not plan these out any better. 2 teams that were battling in KVK, one of the bloodiest KVKs that we've seen to date. Absolutely zeroed their alliance out, zeroed themselves out, having to constantly heal 2 weeks in a row. Both of these teams healing upwards of 70 to 80 million troops gem heals between the last 2 matches, and now they're coming down to battle for position number 1 between SX54 and JST. You just cannot script it anymore. Like, oh man, this is gonna be an amazing match to watch. So we're gonna see which ones we're gonna end up casting and doing stuff like that, but this one is a very intriguing match if we're gonna cast one. Z415 versus SNC1. I think this one's pretty cut and dry. SNC1, I believe, are going to end up winning this by about 10K, and but both of these teams are already eliminated, so it's kind of a pride match. And let me drag the last one. So we're moving on to the last group, Group H. 108 versus LN93. 108 is a monster, so I don't think this one's going to be close. I think this is one that 108 will take, grab the bag and run and secure position number 1 in Group H, and that would leave K374 with position 2 with their win over SK57. So that is what I'm looking for on those. You know, it's going to be an exciting week, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure, if y'all haven't already, do me a massive favor, sub to the channel if you're enjoying this Rise of Kingdoms content. Don't forget to hit that bell icon, smash the like button, and guys and gals, I am beyond excited. There's so many storylines. I hope y'all are enjoying the content and loving it as much as I am. But I think we're ready to call it. And make sure y'all leave me a comment down below with what your match of the week is going to be and potential upsets that maybe you see. And yeah, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I am Anthony with the Bulbaritos, and I will see you all on the next video. Bulba out.
No sé qué tú ves en mí, mi amor. Ya no dejes de mirarme, que ya me gusta quién soy. Contigo me siento en control. Eres el balance